Yeah.
What's up, guys? Firstly, thanks everyone for flying in. Amazing weekend ahead of us, and just what I like to say is we don't get many moments like this, so just be present, enjoy the weekend, and we'll have a good time.
Cause you're all the beauty that I found. I feel you in the breeze. Yeah, when the moment comes around, baby, please don't leave. I need you now, more than ever.
Welcome to Portugal for Empire Mastermind number 3. We've had coaches fly all over the world to be here this weekend. And there's 3 big questions we want them to have answered by the end of this weekend. Where do they want to go? Who must they become to get there? And thirdly, what do they actually need to do so they can achieve it? That's going to be the undeniable path, and that's what we're going through this weekend. What's going to help us answer those questions is putting people in a room where not only they feel they have a sense of belonging, but they're around people who have the exact same vision they do. Building a life and dream they never thought was possible, but doing whatever they can to make sure it becomes a reality. This weekend is that you're going to leave with a vision worth building, a conviction in the founder you're becoming, a clear path to your freedom number, the systems to capture, convert and compound clients, and the certainty to execute on it. And most importantly, a business that gives you more freedom, impact and choice. The business you're building will eventually be limited by the founder you're becoming. I'm going to say that again. The business you're building will eventually be limited by the founder you're becoming. So take that in for a second, because everyone thinks that, the business that they're building is not sometimes about them, it's about the content, it's about the leads, it's about everything else, it's about the strategy, it's about the tactic. But if you don't level up in terms of yourself, in terms of the founder that you are, that's going to be the biggest bottleneck in your business. So that's our first and foremost thing that we want to be working on. So why this is something that's really, really important to me, I'm going to take you back to 2022. And no, it's not a hair transplant ad. So that's why our goal for you this weekend is to essentially ensure you're building something that actually matters for you in your life. I think Naval said it perfectly. The only real test of intelligence is if you get what you want out of life. And I think it's so easy for us to, the things we think we want out of life is the things we'll think other people will associate with us or how we're perceived. But this is all that matters. So yes, we're going to work this weekend on building your business, but we want to make sure we're doing it in a way that, 1, really aligns to you, but 2, it actually gives you fulfillment. Because what's the point in it if we're not doing that? What do you actually want? I don't know about anyone else, but if you asked me this a year ago, I would have said, fuck knows, literally. So many people used to ask me, what's the next big goal? What's the next big thing? And they're like, where do you want to be in 3 years? Where do you want to be in 5 years? And I'd look back over the last 3 to 5 years that I had, and I was like, well, I couldn't even imagine what has happened. So I find it really hard to identify with that. And I didn't know, was there something wrong with me in terms of I actually don't know what goals I need to be setting. And it was the thing that I wasn't short of ambition, but I was short on clarity. And then I got asked this question: when was the first time you fully felt alive? And strangely enough, it took me back to here. So any Irish people know that's, actually just the old president, Michael D. Higgins. And this was when I was school captain in my secondary school. I think Chris Williamson says that thing, the biggest thing to ever happen to you is the biggest thing that ever happened to you. So I know right now in the grand scheme of life, it's quite a small thing being a school captain. But at 17, school of 800 students, in my year having 150 of us, and being chosen to from my fellow pupils to represent them and lead them. It was a moment for me where I felt chosen for probably the first time. I'd have played like sports, and you know, I wasn't bad, but I was never like the first getting picked. I had like the sense within me that I was like destined for more, but there was no evidence of that. I felt, is this just in my head? Because I have this like work ethic inside me and this like discipline inside me, but there's no evidence to suggest that I've done anything to prove that. This moment made me realize the thing that makes me feel alive is kind of having a sense of belonging, having a sense of responsibility for other people. So even like weekends like this is the thing that gives me drive. This is the thing that gives me a lot of purpose. So for me, it's how do I create more of this? How do I work and execute each day where I'm in a position where I can continue to do weekends like this and continue to make a bigger impact? So my question for you, and you can all just have a bit of a think about it. It can be related to absolutely anything, but just to write down, when have you felt most alive? It's like Ben Francis, Gymshark. He said when the CEO's ambition for the brand becomes bigger than the ambition for themselves, that's when like the business becomes unstoppable. And it's kind of like that. It's like if you had any sense of ego, you'd almost be like, oh, I don't really like this because I want to be more involved. Because as you said, it's almost that like, you're like, okay, I feel like even though what you're doing is like very high strategy stuff, you're pulling the strings essentially. You could be like less in the limelight. So for some people, they'll never allow themselves get to that position. Yeah. Cian, anything come up for you?
I think for me, it's just like clarity. I think I just need to sit down and be like, what is it that I actually want? Because like for me, there's just been a lot of things in the last couple of months. It's just...
I even think for you, like if you're kind of going like navigating a thing personally for you around, you know, where am I going to be living and things are up in there, like your team can be the thing that can like gives you that push and that drive. But like, okay, if I have like a lack of clarity in where I'm heading right now, but I do have clarity and I want to like show up and be the best leader I can for them, which I think, like I spoke about that before, that gives you like another sense of passion, like having a team and, you know, other people relying on you. Yeah, but I think as well, if you look at it, like anything that has happened to you in your life that's been like so tough at the time, like you probably tell like a pretty good story about it now. And I always try like use that reframe of like, okay, even if that was to happen, is there a chance you'd come back from it 100%? Is there a chance that'd be a fucking inspiring story and it would add so much to you and your character and your skill set? It would. So it's that idea of like, try not to fear what could happen, even if it does happen, being able to back yourself.
But I know one thing, yeah. When it feel like that, gotta move so fast. Say you won't hold back. It's now or never. Wanna make it last. Give it all you have. Say you won't hold back. It's now or never. It's good right now. So good right now. Don't let me down.
Day 2 of the mastermind, and as you can see, I'm just back from a sweaty high rock session, which you're going to see very shortly. Just back to shower, have breakfast, and we're kicking off day 2, all about connection, how you become trusted, and conversion, how you become chosen as an online coach. Right, guys. Okay, so yesterday we went through everything around conviction and then capture. So how do you become known? So obviously we talked a lot about around trial reels, top of funnel. So that is really just the first step in terms of, you know, getting leads to turn into clients. So today we're going to talk about that connection piece, because a lot of people will focus on the capture and they really miss out on the connection. Session this afternoon, Daniel is going to be taking it and he's going to be going through everything around compounding. So when you have clients coming in, when you're starting to gain momentum and leverage, how do you actually double down on that? How do you improve retention, LTV? How do you build a team around you to keep growing? So that will be this afternoon. So yeah, we'll be starting with connection and just around story sequences. Take over, Hayden.
So I think stories is probably one of the most underleveraged things. Most people's first habits, whether we believe it or not, is we go onto the story sequences first and we look through those before we get bored through the stories. Then we start going into like the reels and the newsfeed and stuff. But this is where we miss such an important piece. And we spoke about yesterday all about using your newsfeed as a place to build authority. That's where you are bringing people into your ecosystem. But the stories is where we're building that connection. So like I was saying here, we want to kind of think about this like watching a TV program. So a program, a series that you're invested in, and then you're watching a traditional style program, and then you have like an ad break. So it's like a natural interruption. You kind of like expect it. It goes back to the program, an ad break, program. So thinking of our stories almost like this, where the program is you and your life and everything you do to like build that trust. But the ad breaks are when we are doing those like call to actions, like subtle. These are actually the most important things. But even it's so easy for us to just get caught up and think about, okay, what tactics can we use in our stories to get as many clients as possible? But we don't want to be missing this stuff because they are here for like this first reason. So this then kind of like leads me into the 5C story sequence that we have. I don't want to see everyone's stories purely just on this now, like after this. It wants to be sprinkled in at the right time. So the first one, you've got a connect story framework. This is where we just call out like the dream person to start off with. We're going to describe their current reality. We show proof this is actually real, like normalize the struggle, introduce hope, and then get an engagement by question, or it could be like a sticker tap for them to actually be able to engage in the thing itself. How that then looks is, let's say for example, this is one that I utilized with my client, didn't use the AI picture, he actually used her, but most women over 50 aren't struggling because they're lazy. The reality, they're dealing with hormones all over the place, more stress than ever, sleeping less, a slow metabolism, and a body that feels unfamiliar. A client told me this week, then you get like a screenshot of like what they said, so it feels a bit more real. And if you ever felt like you're eating less than your husband, you exercise more than your friends, and you've tried everything but nothing's working anymore, I promise you, you're not alone. There's actually a reason for it. But once you understand what's really going on with your body, you can stop fighting against it and like working with it. Does anyone feel like this? So I'm not going straight into this being like, join my one-to-one coaching. I'm kind of building that trust with them through like a connection. Is like, have you ever felt like this before? And then all of those that say yes, you obviously go in and you have the conversation. Again, don't send them a link to sign up to a call, have a conversation with them.
So we're going to be going into something around kind of conversion and the sales side of things now. Connect creates interest, and then conversion creates clients. So a lot of people can have really good kind of connection and they're like engagement there's leads there, but the conversion is the missing piece. So obviously we could speak about so much around DMs, sales calls, how to actually go on the sales calls. What we want to speak to you about today is something we introduced last month, which is being able to utilize both an offer doc and a sales call in your conversion process. So this is probably what a lot of people in the room do right now, which is like the single path sales system, where someone shows interest in working with you, you offer them a call, they book a call, they attend the call, and they become a client. But there's a lot of leaks throughout that. So how many of you have received an application form and the person never replies? You've offered a call to someone, they end up ghosting or they don't get back to you. Someone books a call, but they don't show up and they end up going cold. So if we only have a single path sales system, we're going to end up with a lot of people who never receive your offer. So that was tension that we could kind of see that, okay, even though we do believe a sales call is the best conversion mechanism for fitness coaches, we know there's a lot of people interested in just not seeing your offer. And I think sometimes we can have this belief inside ourselves that if someone doesn't want to call, that they're not a good lead, and it's very far from the case. So it's like, okay, how can we ensure we leverage both of those things? Then on the flip side, you'll have people who just do kind of offer doc or video only. So you mentioned doing it with some success, 100%. But as you said, sometimes maybe the conversion could be higher. I know Mark did it before joining and felt his conversion was quite low on it. So with the offer doc only approach, definitely can work. Something I use as well, but there is some limitations to it. So there's going to be lower conversion. Usually there's no personalization with it. To be fair, with my fitness business, before I ever did sales calls, I used to do personal loom to people, and we got up to like 170 clients just doing personal loom. So that can be an option, but it just takes a bit more time and less qualification and no real objection handling, which to me is the big one, because the way we need to think about it is like people don't like making change, and it's very, very easy for people to stay in a comfort zone. If you think about it, any big decision you've made, any huge changes you've made in your life have come from uncomfortable decisions, and you're essentially putting, the ball in this person's court to make that decision for themselves, which can work. But I think if we're just going this approach alone, we're missing out on people as well. So that's why we introduce the two-path sales system, where our main goal and our primary path for leads is to try get them on a call. So we want to take them through that process of interest, offer call, book a call, attend the call, and become a client. We've seen 100% that is the best conversion mechanism. Obviously, there's things to consider around if you don't want to build a business with sales calls, absolutely fine, and you're happy to just do offer doc. Sometimes it could come down to like a lead's not being qualified enough and sending them to an offer doc to save time. It could be availability on the calendar, not having enough of that and moving them to an offer doc. But let's just say our goal is to get every kind of good candidate onto a call. But now what we're going to end up doing is the people who showed interest and never got back to you, we'll send them to an offer doc. People who offered a call and maybe had an excuse to not make the call or a reason that they couldn't, or their schedule was just too busy, we move them to an offer doc. People who book a call and don't show up, we move them to an offer doc as well. So now essentially what you're creating is you're keeping exactly the same level of conversion, because everyone who can make it to a call makes it to a call. So you're not missing out on anyone there. But all these other leads who never get on that call with you, they're still seeing your offer. And so many times people think they might have a lead problem or a call booking problem, and a lot of times it's just not enough people seeing your offer problem. So this essentially gives you the best of both worlds. Then for your business, if you could ask us anything. So Sanj, any specific?
My last 10 clients
Yeah.
that signed up have all been through referrals.
Yeah.
But I've noticed I'm not getting anyone applying through my application form.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know what I'm doing wrong. I don't know if it's my content, I don't know if it's my messaging.
Mm-hmm.
It's quite a vague question.
Yeah. And is your application form in your bio?
It's in my bio.
And how many questions are on it? would you say?
There are about, I'd say 7 or 8.
I literally do name, email, Instagram handle, and just like one question around their goal. So you want to almost like keep it as simple as possible and think about it as what I kind of said earlier, about like raising people to raise their hand. So I'd look at your application form as like, I don't actually care about the information on the form. I just want to know if someone's potentially interested. So what's the quickest way and easiest way for them to express that to me?
Roller coaster ride, hands up in the sky, take you on a ride, love to feel the high. We can start again, laughing to the end, screaming at the top.
This weekend wouldn't be possible without Amanda and Daniel. Amanda's been amazing. She's planned Thursday night dinner today for the High Rocks class and tomorrow at the Beach Club. So this is for you just to say thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Amanda. I suppose as well, just for me, I'm not surprised, but thanks to everyone for being such great individuals, each of you. I think making everyone else feel at home. I know some people coming this weekend felt a bit nervous, and I knew they never had any reason to, because we have such a great group of people. So thanks for being you, and yeah, let's enjoy tonight and tomorrow and finish the weekend on our debrief session Sunday morning here in the villa. So we had 2 full days, both Friday and Saturday. And then what we wanted to do this morning was just have a wrap-up session for everyone. I think in a weekend where there's a lot of information and, people are sharing ideas, thoughts, concepts, to have a recap session where people know the priority they need to go away with is important. Myself and Hayden have a big belief of we want to be able to teach and, educate our clients in the best way possible and do that through the full spectrum, of building an online business, but at the same time, making them clear on the priority they need to do at that moment in time. So that session was important today. But yeah, how have you felt weekend has gone?
Yeah, really, really good. I think one thing that we always talk about is that we don't want this to just be theory. We don't want to just keep teaching information. Implementation for us is probably one of the biggest things. And it was great to see that every single session that we had, that people were actively taking action on things that we spoke about. So for the the top of funnel that we were talking about, it's really, really cool to have the conversations and see people as little as 3 to 5 hours later telling us the performance on how the reel had done and how many followers they gained and the conversations that had come off the back of it. So yeah, it was nice to see, because like I said, one of the biggest things that we want to make sure people don't sit in a room and just absorb the information without any implementation at all. So it was great to actually see people take action.
Yeah, and that was a theme for this weekend. We wanted to essentially go through the undeniable path that has 5 different components. So we started session 1 with conviction, and again, this was as myself and Hayden were building this out over the last few months. This was a key pillar for current clients to to go through again, but especially for new clients coming on board, that's an area we want to start, because we believe having belief in your vision, in your identity, and being able to execute on that, and as Hayden said, implement on the things and know how to do it, they're such key components for success. And I think a lot of people skip past that. They go straight into the strategy and the tactics, and that's why some clients can be successful and others don't end up being that way. And then we moved on to capture, which is the top of funnel, getting yourself known. Then onto the connection piece, which is to build trust with the audience once you do begin getting traction and getting known. And then once you're trusted, how do you become chosen? So everything around the conversion piece. And then we had a final talk from our client Daniel, who came in, who has a very successful coaching business and team, where he talked all around hiring A players and just becoming an amazing coach and getting amazing results. So you can see with your business, there's different stages of, first it comes to belief in the vision and having the identity to back it up, getting yourself known, getting yourself trusted, getting yourself chosen. And then how do you compound that? How do you get better results, which will add more LTV? And then how do you hire a team around you to build a bigger team? So that was essentially what we went through this weekend, where, for everyone in the room, regardless of what stage, they could take things away from it. But also, as we said this morning, for them to know, okay, what is the one priority for you that will move the needle the most in the next few months? Is there any conversation that you had, or maybe something someone brought up in the room, or maybe
not even necessarily for myself? I've had a ton of amazing conversations over the last couple of days, but I think it's been amazing for everyone to be in a single location together and the conversations that they've been having with each other. So even though we've got great feedback from what people have taken from the sessions, and again, what they have implemented, but also it's great to hear the conversations that they've had between each other and some clarity light bulb moments that they've had that's actually, give them a perspective shift that maybe we didn't mention, and it's helped them move forward, because it's great to be in a room of people that are at different stages in their business. So there's always someone that they've been where that person currently is right now, and they're talking and airing out their struggles that they're having, and you can just see the great conversations going on about what they did in that scenario. And it was actually someone in particular conversation that was had, and they were saying, I was thinking about doing this, but you've actually given me so much clarity on not to do that, because you've already been through the mistake, and listening to the experience you've had, I can almost now forecast that's exactly the same thing that would happen for me if I went down that path. So it's just great conversations that people have had between each other that also give it clarity. And I think just being in a room of like-minded people for 3 to 4 days has been everything.
Yeah, and I think that's a big thing in terms of like how to hold a room and bring the best out of a room. Is sometimes for myself and Hayden, it's knowing when to be quiet. We could stimulate some conversation, and as Hayden said, some coaches in the room might kind of talk about their own experience and lessons, and it's us essentially building a mentorship and a mastermind that has clients who have expertise in a lot of different areas, and we know we'll get the best from our clients and they'll get the best results by not just what we say, but by creating an environment from them with coaches who have all done amazing things in their business. And for us knowing, okay, when do we interject and when do we leave the room speak? I think you need that to create, the atmosphere that Hayden was speaking about.
What's been amazing as well is because coming to these events and coming solo can feel super intimidating, and it can be like a scary thing, but it was so good to hear people not only say like how comfortable they felt, but actually they felt like they've been a part of the mastermind for a while. Like they've been in our world for a long time, they've been working with us, when that actually isn't the case. And these are people that aren't necessarily like working with us at this present moment, but the experience they've got with being in this community has been amazing for them. So it's really, really nice to hear that people feel completely relaxed, feel completely at home, even though, again, like people are at very, very different points, and it can feel intimidating to be like, well, this person's over here and I'm just down here, and no one has felt that. Like no one has felt that at all.
What do you think that's down to?
I think, again, partly like the conversations that have gone on, understanding that everyone is actually here in the room for an objective. Like they haven't just come for a social, that they've come to achieve something in their business. And no matter what stage you are in your business, that you're still solving problems. And I think we've been super fortunate enough to say that there's no egos. I think when we look back at all of them that we've done, we've been really fortunate to never have any egos, and maybe that comes down to you and the message that you're bringing across. But yeah, I think maybe the conversations, I think
ego is a big thing.
Yeah.
Just like regardless of what stage people are at, that everyone in the room deserves the same value.
And no one has, and I think this is, I can think back to years and years ago when I used to go out to masterminds, and I had the same thought process where someone wouldn't give me the time of day because I was maybe here and they were up here, and it couldn't be further from the truth. I think actually as human beings, we want to help each other out. So to be able to have those conversations and express the mistakes that they made at that current stage that they were at to try and get to where they are now, I think has been super valuable.
Yeah,
super valuable.
100%. So that's mastermind number 3. Hayden's been a massive help for all 3 of them, smashing them. So thank you very much, my man. 2 more big thank yous. So to the woman behind the camera, Zenith Vision, for amazing weekend and just capturing all the bits. So hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you made it this far, you probably have. And just on that note, before getting to my final thank you, you can click down below and click on my Instagram, DM me the word mastermind, and I can share all the information for our next mastermind, which is to be confirmed. But if you send over, I'll give you a snippet of all the details before anyone else does. And finally, just a big thank you to everyone in the room. These weekends for us are super fulfilling. I come away from them feeling incredibly grateful, and that's only down to Hayden, Kez behind the camera, and all the amazing coaches and clients we have to share the experience with. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed it. Please hit subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one.